So welcome to Nest for Code, the place where code nourishes. So in today's session, we'll see few problems about the variables and numbers, and our focus will also be that how you should approach a problem and like how you should like what's the approach like whenever you have any problem. Is it like maybe the problem is the problem that we discuss, you find it tough or easy, but yeah, what should be your approach whenever you're doing any coding problem or any practice problem? Okay, so I think we'll see few problems today. Okay, so I have a set of problems for you guys today. Yeah, so this is a problem set one for variables and numbers, right? Okay, so let's see first problem. What is the problem today? Is it's saying swap three variables without temp variable. So we want to swap the values of three variables and we don't want to use any temporary variables also. Okay, let's move on to the problem statement. What does problem statement say? That we will write a program which will be swapping three variables and will not be using any extra variables to store the value temporarily. If the input variables are A, B, C, we'll swap A with B, B with C, and then C with A. No extra variable should be used. So guys, whenever we are doing any problem, it's also very important to understand the problem statement, right? The part of coding or the syntax of a language comes later on. The most important thing is you understand the problem statement first properly. Maybe like if you are attending any interview, right, you can just ask the interviewer again also if you are not clear, because what happens, right, many times people just start coding or they just start giving the answer, but when interviewer realize that even you have not understand the question, so it's give a bad impression, right? The solution comes later on, but even if you have not understand the problem, this is poor thing. And many times there are assumptions also in the problem, or there are some conditions which are given, we should also understand that. So we'll see in the future like further problems that what are the like how we'll see the assumptions or maybe some input output cases. And also, right, the problem can be very small also, but we should always try out our program, try run our code with some input output cases also. Okay, so let's try to do this problem, right? So normally you have seen a problem where we are want to swap three variables, sorry, two variables, but in this problem we want to swap three variables. Okay, and so okay, so if we want, like, let us suppose that how it will work if I want to swap two variables or three variables, say using temp variable. Okay, so okay, this is our first problem, right? Yeah. So if I ask about temporary variable swap using temporary variable, so how it will look like? Let us suppose I'm having two variables, right? So let us suppose A is holding a value 5, B is holding a value say 9, right? And I want to interchange the value, right? So I cannot just say A equal to B, right? Or B equal to A like this. Because what will happen? The value will be overwritten by the other variable. So if I say A equal to B, whatever the value which was there in A, we will lose that, right? So what can be the approach? The approach can be we store the value maybe of A in some temporary variable. We do A equal to B, and then in B we store this temp variable. So this would be the way if you want to do it using temp variables, right? Okay, and this is for say to swap two numbers using temp variables. Okay, if you want to swap say three numbers using, if you want to swap three numbers using temp variable, how it will look like? Okay guys, so for clarity we'll consider that we want to swap A, B, C with B, C, A. So whatever the value B was holding, we'll put it in A. Whatever the value C was holding, we'll put it in B. Whatever the value A was holding, we'll put it in C. So this is our swap order will be. So this is very important, that what will be the order in which the values will be swapped. Okay, so let's see how we can do it for three variables using temp. So let us suppose I say for A equal to 5, B equal to 9, C equal to plus 10, right? Now what we want to do? We want to swap the values. So maybe I will just store the say value of temp in A. So in temp variable, I have stored the value of A. Okay. Now what we can do? We can say A equal to B, right? Because we know the value of A is preserved in temp variable. So we can just update the value of A, right? In B, what we want? We want the value of C in B, right? Yeah. And B, we can just, can we do something like this? B equal to C and C equal to temp, right? Because we know, right, B equal to C, what, why we can do directly? Because B value of B we have already copied in A. So we don't need the value of b again, right? So we can just say a equal to b, b equal to c, and c equal to temp. So this is how we have swapped the value for three numbers using temp variables. And guys, it's also important to understand, right? So many times what happens, your domain or the area, like in terms of area means the scope of your problem is bigger. So what you can do, you can narrow down it, you can do it say for a smaller area. So what does that mean? Like maybe they have asked you to swap for three variables, but you don't know how to do it for three variables. So you can try out for two variables. Or if they would have asked you to say swap five variables, you could have first done for two, then three, like this. So, but yeah, it should not be like if they have asked for 10, so we are doing 3, 4, 5, 6 like this. No, we should try out with a small case, and then we should build some logic. We should get an idea, and then we can do it for maybe n or for bigger scope. Okay, so I think this is how we can swap three variables using temp. But yeah, the problem statement says that we don't want to use any temp variables. So what we have done here, we have just stored the value of a temporarily in temp, right? So temp will be holding a value say 5 now, and then I say a equal to b. So guys, because I know a we have preserved already in temp, so I can just overwrite the value of a. So a will now become 9. And now we don't need to store the value of b in any temporary variable. Why? Because we know, right, the value of b was supposed to be copied to a, and which we have already done. So after this, what will happen? B will become 10. Here what we are doing, we have already preserved the value of a in temporary variable. So here we what the value in temp, it will be 5. So this will be the new values for all these three variables, and we can check it out using print also. So we can see if the values are actually swapped or not, right? So you can see a has become whatever the b was there, right? B has become 10 and c has become 5, right? So I hope this is clear now. Okay, so but we want to do it without using any temporary variables. So guys, normally in other language, right, if you try this program, people generally use some arithmetic operators or bitwise operators to achieve this. But yeah, in Python, this is easy, right? Because we know Python, we're learning because it's easy also. So guys, what you can do in Python, so maybe in other languages you have seen something like this, a equal to b equal to 5. So what does it mean? That a, b will be holding the same value, which is 5. So it will create two variables and both will be holding the value 5, right? Now in Python, it supports the multiple values, multi-variable assignment in single line with different values also. So what I mean, I can also do a equal to a comma b equal to 3 comma 4 or 3 comma 5. What does it mean? The value which is first written here, it will go to a, 5, this will go to b. So we can assign like this multiple variables also, like a comma b comma c equal to 3 comma 5 comma 10. So 3 will go to a, 5 will go to b, and 10 will go to c. Okay, and guys, in place of here, in place of literals or the actual value, I can also have the variables. So what does it mean? Let us suppose I have defined say 3 variables, like a was 3, b was say 5, and c was 10. I can also say a comma b comma c equal to b comma c comma a, something like this. A comma b comma c equal to b comma c comma a. So what does it mean? Let's see here. So guys, what it will do, whatever the value b is holding, it will copy it to variable a. Whatever the value c is holding, it will copy it to variable b. And whatever the value a is holding, it will copy it to variable c. So this is how we can just do in Python, right? We swap three variables in Python using this special assignment operator. So with this one line of code, right? So with this just one line of code, we have swapped three variables without using any extra variable or temp variable. So this is a one line of logic we have there. And guys, normally our program, right, it consists of some input part. So here what we did, we have defined all this on our own. But like problem statement, what it says that we have to write and we will get input all these variables, right? So what we need to do, we have to take this as an input. So we can just add a code for input also for this, right? So we can just say a equal to input, or we can say the value for a. And similarly, let's copy this value for b, value for c, right? So like this, we'll get the input, and then it's come to our logic part. So this is our logic part where we did, right? A comma b equal to b comma c comma a. Now it's come to our output part, right? So normally this will be the three-part portion we'll dividing our solutions, and we can here say print a value of a. I mean, just say comma a, right? Let's copy this. Here it will be value of b and value of c. We'll just print this, right? So one thing we need to remember, this will be some integer, right? So we can just convert it to, if it's number, we can just convert the input to int, right? Because whatever we read in Python, it comes as string. Right? So this will be our program. This is the main logic, and this is our input output. So guys, whenever you are attempting any problem, right, what we do normally, what people start doing, they just start writing the code. It's fine if the problem is small. Otherwise, first you should build up the logic that what all maybe the functions or what all things maybe, like you just think about it. We'll use strings here, numbers here. What are the functions are there in strings which I can use here? Or do I need to use loops here, or do I need to use conditional programming? So all these things you should build up, and you should have a rough sketch of that how your program will go. Then after that, we should actually jump into the code, guys, because once you have a logic or an algorithm that what will be the approach for that problem, then it's just a syntax of a language, right? Yeah, there can be some features which are like in one language which are not there in other language. Like let us suppose if I do this program in any other language, it will differ because this multi-line assignment is not there. But yeah, normally the other algorithms are somewhere similar. Okay guys, so this is our program. We can just try out it for any values, right? And the values are swapped. So I think we are done with our first program. And guys, the important part is not just solving this one particular program. So what I have seen, right, I have seen many people, what they do, they say that, sir, when we started coding, I was okay to write code when it was just 10 lines of code. But when I started writing a code for more than 10 lines, I am not being able to write code. The reason is, when the guy was writing actually a 10 line of code, they have not focused, or they just know the logic, or they just know the whatever the lines they want to put in, they remember that and start writing the code. So even you are writing say 5 line or 6 line of code, you should understand why you are using what. Okay guys, so now let's move on to the problem 2 for today. Yeah, so what is problem 2 is? Problem 2 is we have to find the area of the room. Okay, let's see the problem statement. We have to write a program which take length and width of a room as input and calculate area. Okay, so I know, right, in the input we will getting length and width of the room. Okay, user will enter the length and width of the room, and the result area should be printed in the output. Okay, the output will show area. The input values of length and width can be decimal values. So we need to understand here that for input length and width, we have to handle the decimal cases also. We cannot consider that it will be always number. And so area should also be in decimal values, because length and width are coming as decimal values. Area can also be the decimal value. So in that case also, we have to handle the decimal thing. Assume that the user will always enter the positive values. So guys, whenever there are assumptions which are given, which means that you don't need to worry of these things. What does it mean? That we can consider that our user at least smart enough that he will always be entering positive values for the cases. So we don't need to check if what will happen, that how our program will work if something comes in the negative. we don't need to worry because, right, it's already said that the values will always be positive. So we don't need to run our program against for negative values, or we don't need to check our program for negative values because it's never expected, right? So assumptions is something, right? So I should not go and unnecessary code for negative values, right? Because it means that it's just adding an extra logic and increasing the complexity of program unnecessary, right? Yeah. Okay. So we'll go for the problem. Before I go for the problem, there are some sample cases also which are given. So sample cases always helps you in a two ways. One is to test your program, right? If it's working as expected. And the second thing is it helps you to understand the format of the program, or to understand sometimes, because sometimes the problem statement could be complex. So sample input output always help us to understand the problem also. So we can see that if I'm giving this input, this will be the output. So you can understand the problem in a better way. So like here I can see 4 into 2 is coming as 8, right? So it helps you in two ways, right? And this, I would say this thing, right? So let us suppose maybe if you are, say, attempting an interview, in that case also you can ask an interviewer, can you give an example for this, so you understand the problem better. Okay guys, so let's move on to the problem 2 solution, like how we code this problem. So guys, yeah, so we need to understand, we have to calculate the area of the room. So first thing, for this problem I don't need Python, but first thing I need to understand what is the formula of area of room, right? Unless or until you don't know the formula of area of the room, you cannot do this problem, right? So we know the area of the room is length into width, right? This is normal maths. Yeah. So next thing coming, that input part. Input part, we can also have decimal values, right? So it's clearly mentioned that we also have to handle decimal values for input and output also, right? And in logic, we know it will be the multiplication of these two things. Okay. So let's go on. Let's start our program. It will be input, logic, and output, right? So in the input part, we'll take our input and let us suppose define our variable length, right? And we'll take input and we can say here enter length, right? And as discussed, right, we should always give our variables proper name. We should avoid using ABCD here. Last problem, it was fine because it was just swapping 3 numbers ABC. And there also we could have used num1, num2, num3, but that would have been better. But yeah, here we know, right, it's representing something valid, so we should use that variable's name. This will be the width part, right? So this will be our input. And logic will be something, we will have area, which will be length into width, right? And all this length width, they will be coming. So we know, right, in Python, everything comes by default as a string. So we need to convert it to float. So we should convert it to float, right? We are using float here, not in because the decimal values are possible, right? So we'll use float here. Area will automatically be float because, right, guys, whenever we do a multiplication, if one operand is a float, the answer will come also as a float. So area will automatically be float. We don't need any conversion for this, right? Okay. In the output part, we can just print area. I will just say area like this, right? So we have taken length, width as an input, then we have computed area, length into width, and then we are printing area. Okay, so our program is ready, but it's important, right? This is, you can see this is a program for 5 lines, but still it's important for us to test it against the given test cases. Okay, let's see how if it's working as expected. Okay, so we'll go with first test case. It's 2 and 4. Area should come as 8.0. 2 and 4. Okay, it's working as expected for first test case. Okay guys, so let's try out this problem for second case. Second case says it 2.1, 3.1, 6.51. I'm saying 2.1, 3.1. Oh, 6, in place of 6.51, it's giving us extra decimal point values, right? The precision is not as expected. So we need to do something with our program. It's not working as expected for the second case. So what can be the option here? I can go and do something while printing the output. So guys, in Python, we have a round function using which you can round off the value. And if you see most of the test cases here, they are rounded off to the decimal 2. So we can just round off area 2, and here we can give the decimal value till the place where we want to round off this value. So I just given 2 here. And then let's try it again. 2.1, 3.1, it's coming as 6.51. So now it's working as expected. So this is a point, right? When we have written this code, we thought it's correct, right? But we missed something, which was rounding off, right? So that's why it's always important to run your program for all the cases. And you can try out the cases on your own also, besides whatever is given in the problem statement. Okay, now it's coming as 2.2, 4.1, sorry, 2, 4.5, 9.0. Okay, 2, 4.5, 9.0. Okay, it's working as expected. Let's go with the fourth test case. 2.29, 19.8. Okay. Okay, so this is also working as expected for the fourth case also. So guys, whatever the input output samples which are given, right, they are not just random input outputs. They are designed in a way that like all the cases or like your program is properly being tested. So if you see here, right, if I explain you that how these 4 test cases comes up, right, you see here, right, both are integer here, both are float here. One is float, one is integer, and then we have interchange. The above one is float and the second one is integer, right? So these are designed. They're not just anything which is random. Okay, guys. So I hope this is clear to everyone. The similar problems we have for 30 days coding challenge also. So this problem set I will share with you guys in today's recorded session. But yeah, normally we are also having this 30 days coding challenge where we are sharing all these problems on daily basis. Like I put one problem on daily basis and solution for that also. So if I show you, right, few things. So it's a problem like this. It can be any problem. So I have opened like count the cheese cubes. Right, this is a day 4 problem. There's a tray having cheese cubes. We need to count the cheese cubes in the tray. One cube cannot be placed over another. We can ask the user for the dimension of the box and also the size of the side of cube for the box. This is one problem which was for day 4. Like we are already, the 30 days challenge is already running for previous batch, but yeah, you can start from day 1 also. And normally we put these problems on Facebook and solutions on YouTube. Okay, guys. So I think we'll just go with the problem set one. And these problems are designed by us only. Like these are not some standard problems. Okay, so guys. So let's see the problem 3rd for today. We want to sum n positive numbers, first n positive integers. Okay, so we want to write a program with some first n positive integers. Okay, let's move on to the problem statement. We have to write a program which will take one number, say n, as input from the user and print the sum of first n integers. Okay, user will enter single number. Okay, assume user will always give positive numbers as input, so we don't need to worry of negative numbers. User will always give a single number which will be positive number, and we can use a formula. So here the formula is also given. So guys, normally to sum first and positive numbers, the one option can be we use loops, but we don't know loops yet, so we can use this formula directly, right? N into n plus 1 by 2. And these are the few sample input output which are given for this. Okay. So the problem we have understood. So let's move on to the solution for this, right? So this will be our problem 3. Sum of first and positive numbers. Okay, so guys, input part, logic part, and the output part. In the input part, it will be we're getting n number, right, from the user. So it will be enter number, we can just say, and this will be what it will be. It will be a number, right? So we can just say, we can just convert it to int. Yeah. So in logic, what we have to do, we have to calculate the sum, right? Sum value, and we know, right, the formula is there, n into n plus 1 by 2, right, which is given in the problem also. So you can just say n into n plus 1 by 2, right? And the output we can just print the sum. You can just put it in brackets. Well, it will not make much difference, but yeah, that's fine. And you can say sum value, right? So this is our program which we have written, right? We're taking n as an input, which will be a number. We're computing some value, and the output will just print the sum. Okay, so let's try out this problem for this given cases. Okay, so we'll try it for 1 1 1. Oh, something is missing, right? Our output is coming as 1.0 in place of 1. So what we can do, right? So normally, guys, whenever you will use a division operator, you will always get a decimal value. So whenever there is a division operator which is involved, the output will always be a decimal value. So we can just convert it to a int. And now let's try 1. Okay, it's working as expected. Okay, let's try to run our program for other cases also. Okay, 1 second. I think this is because of the type of this cell. Yeah, now it should be fine. What with syntax? Okay, we just press enter, so that's why typing as a string. 10 should come as 55. Okay, it's working as expected. Let's try to run it for one more case, which is given. It's given it as 25, and it should come as 325. Yeah, so it's also working as expected. We can try out more cases also, but that depends, right? So yeah, this was a third problem that I wanted to discuss today. So yeah, guys. So the main point is like how we should generally approach a problem, right? And we should always try to understand to get the logic first, and then we should always run at the end our program for the given sample cases and also for some more cases. Yeah, guys. And I will recommend you, like all of you, to participate in the 30 days coding challenge also. So because you will be, if you are doing a daily one problem, I can assure you, like in 30 days, you will get familiar with all these coding things, right? Whatever like concepts we follow, or like you will get better idea of all the concepts, and you will get habitual of doing a code. And daily doing one coding challenge will not take you more than 1 hour. So it's good, right, for you doing a problem every day.